Hey everyone. So I want to tell you how this all came about. So on our Facebook page, a lot of people already know that there's mainly two different resins that we use with the glass and resin art, and that's the coating resin and the casting resins. And most people know that on canvas you have to use a coating resin or it will leave something called fish eyes or empty areas. And but still, all the time I get people showing their pictures of their canvases with all these areas that the epoxy resin has not attached to. And everybody always has a different answer. Some people are saying, oh, it's because your canvas wasn't flat, or oh, it's because you have oils on it. And sometimes that could be true, but for the most part, it's because you're using the wrong resin. And again, I just want to show you one more time. This is the a coating resin, and you can see this is the exact same canvas that's been treated the exact same way. It's actually been sitting around forever. It probably has fingerprints all over it and whatnot. And yet, even under those conditions, the art resin, which is a coating resin, has totally covered all the edges and the top. And Resiners, which is an excellent casting resin, you can see, I hope you can see this, has totally not attached to these areas here. I put them on at the same time, under the same conditions, on the exact same canvas, and you can see that a casting resin is too thin and it will not attach properly to a canvas. You have to use a coating resin for a canvas. I hope you can see this, how it's just almost blank here. It was poured over, but it has pulled away. And the coating resin, the art resin, and any other coating resin would do the same thing, would stay on the canvas. Coating resins are much thicker resins. So having said that, I started thinking, I tell everybody that casting resins are made for molds and you can use it on glass as long as it's surrounded by a border, kind of like a mold would be. And I thought, and then, I don't know, it was a few weeks ago, I saw somebody with some glass art. I think it was glass. It could have been like a plastic. And it didn't have any border around it, and yet it was acting like a coating resin. So I thought, I wonder if glass by itself, even without a frame around it, would be okay with a casting resin, and look what I found. So I used art resin on one side, which is a coating resin, totally covered it, and I used Resiner's resin, which was the same resin that I just showed you on the canvas that did not attach to the canvas because it's a casting resin, too thin, worked beautifully on the glass without a border on it. Isn't that funny? So I thought it was just okay. Casting resins could be used on glass just because it had the border around it and could hold it in as long as you did it thick enough. But look at that. So this is what got me thinking. And I'm always thinking, I started thinking, so last year I did these clings, these gel clings that you find at the Dollar Tree, Walmart, whatnot, that you put on the windows. And last year I had done them and the resin would not attach to the top. I just made a mess and I was so disappointed. So this is one of the gel cling projects that I did, and actually I realized it was 2 years ago that I did it. And I had this gel cling Wicked Witch that I had put on a glass moon and poured the resin over it, and you can see already right at the very beginning how it's starting to pull away from the edges. What I did was I came back every 15 minutes and kept on trying to straighten it out and smooth it over again. And no matter what I did, it just kept on pulling away from the sides and pitting. So finally I set it aside, and when I came back the next day to look at it, it was just a mess. So look at it, it's pitted all over. I was able to save it by pouring more resin over it. It didn't look as good as I wanted it to, but with some experimenting with other gel clings, I realized that I could put Mod Podge on them before I poured the resin, and then the resin would stay on it. So I thought, well, maybe it's because I was using a casting resin and not a coating resin. So unfortunately, I had some mixed results. So I decided to try the same two resins on the gel clings. And so this was the art resin, which is the coating resin, and it covered it really nice. And then this is the casting resin, the resiners, and that was just got some discoloration, and the casting resin, of course, didn't stick in areas. It just would not stick. So I thought, oh well, that's the answer. So that's when I decided to do this, and I'm going to show you what happened. So I set this one up, and the resin I'm using is the super clear tabletop epoxy, which I've used on canvas before, and it has good coverage, doesn't leave any fish eyes. So I thought, well, this is a good coating resin. I'll put it over the cat and the pumpkin and the ghost, and everything's going to be fine. But I'm going through this super fast. This is like 15 minutes that I'm showing you in 1.5 minutes. And it kept on pulling away from, I would see it starting to pull away from the side, and I would go in with like a toothpick or a little spatula and then trying to cover it again. But I could tell after a few minutes that it just was going to keep pulling away from the sides. It wasn't as bad as what happened with the witch, but it still was doing it. So you can see me going through with the spatula and trying to smooth it out again and push it back where it's supposed to be. And then after about 10 minutes of that, I said, well, this isn't going to work. And I just ended up taking the resin and pouring it over all of it so that it flooded it. So it had, there was no escape. It had to just kind of go over the top of it. And that way, when you do that, it can't leave any fish eyes. So it didn't work. So the only way you can cover these gel clings with resin and have it stick is to seal them with something first, like Mod Podge or even probably a Krylon clear sealer. So maybe I'll try some Christmas ones in a month or so and seal them first and see how that works. So as you can see, it didn't work, and I didn't use art resin. I actually used the super clear, which is a coating resin, which works perfectly fine on canvas, and for some reason it wouldn't stick there. So I ended up having to coat the whole thing so that it was actually underneath the resin. So anyway, that turned out pretty cute, I think. I put glass on it, and I put the gel clings on it. I have glass at the bottom, glass around the top, but they are really underneath the resin, and that's the only reason, because it started pulling away from the edges again. So I think I had found a solution last year. I decided if we covered the gel clings in Mod Podge and let them dry, then the resin would cover them. But anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. So I had bought all these gel clings, so I decided to do a few more. And I think these turned out pretty cute, but these here, I just tried to do like a glitter behind them and then a solid background. But I think it looks prettier when you just do the solid background, like the glitter background. And with these gel clings, if you're using the back of them like this, they cling to the glass, and you can pour a ton of resin over them and they don't float, they cling to the glass. Whereas these, I had to, because the bottom's the top with this mold, they're like this. I'm putting the non-clingy side down. If you put too much resin on it, they actually float up. So you have to do it in layers. So for these molds, what you do is, you can see how there's a separation between the inner and outer lip. And what I did was I mixed up resin and I poured the glitter resin into the outer lip, which makes up the frame of the picture, and then also the holders. You can make your own holders too for your frame. And I poured that same glitter into the holders. Then I mixed up some clear resin and I poured it into the center. And you just have to make sure you don't go over the lip of the frame, because if you do, some of the glitter could spill into the center and you want that to stay clear. So I put a thin layer of that, and then I just started putting the gel clings upside down, because the bottom is actually going to be the front of it. So you're putting your gel clings upside down in there to be seen the other way. And you can't have this too high because these will float. So you actually have to put these in however you want them, and then you have to let this set up before you pour another layer. You really have to think about how you put your words, because you have to put it backwards. So, and I also had these little resin bats that I had poured the other day, and I just put some little bats around them. So that was the only thing with that. But I didn't end up putting any glass on this, but you could put glass on it. A lot of people actually do the mold this way, and you could put the gel clings face up and use the bottom as the top. So you could do it, a couple of different ways. But I just wanted to show you these with the clings. I thought they were real cute. And Halloween is just 2 weeks away now, so I'm not going to be doing any more Halloween projects, because you probably won't. But they have tons of gel clings up to Walmart, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, that I found that were super cute, and I'm going to end up putting them all away now. I probably spent about $30 on gel clings. You just see them, and they're like these little ghosts here with the little hat, and this one came with the third one, the little girl with the bow on her head. So those were real cute. Anyway, I just had a lot of fun with them, and I have like 20 packages of them scattered on top of my bed now. I'm going to pick them up, and I guess I'll put them away for next year. Do you believe all these gel clings I bought? They were all just so cute. Some of those fall ones I guess I could still use. But if anyone has a Dollar General by them, they were $1 each, buy one, get one half off. So you got two for $1.50. So they were a pretty good deal, Dollar General. So hopefully the next video that you see will be a Christmas video, even though we're still 2.5 months away. But I know everybody's getting ready for the craft shows. Everybody's getting ready for the craft shows, and that's what they're selling now. Nobody's going to be buying Halloween. I guess still fall stuff, though, like pumpkins and that. But I just thought this was a real interesting experiment, because I've always been telling you guys that the casting resin can also be used on glass as long as it's surrounded by a frame, but that's not right. It'll go on glass anyway. Now, I guess the next thing I'll have to do is try it on acrylic. Like the night lights, the casting resin. I'm not sure what resins you guys have been using on your night lights. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something new. For those of you that don't know about the casting versus the coating resins, I'll probably be putting this on the Facebook page for you to watch. So for canvas, you have to use a coating resin. For glass, you can use coating, casting, either one will work. And for gel clings, I guess neither of them work. You have to paint them with Mod Podge first. So anyway, or bury it totally under the resin. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new. Come check out the Facebook page, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.